This is a lecture about the drama All My Sons by Arthur Miller, which was performed in 1947.
The characters, a little bit in a short introduction of different characters. As you know, Arthur Miller was born in 1950s and he was very conscious about his writing, so we can see the conscious clarity and compassion in his writing. Father lost his business in Brooklyn during the Great Depression. It was the time of first 19th start of the 19th century, first 3 decades. So that was the tension prevailed all over the world. So that was the time where his father lost his business. So this affected the Millers tremendously. The majority of the Miller's play revolved around this son, this idea, because when you got attention in your mind and you wanted to write something on a paper, it's obvious and natural that the all elements, the tensions, the anxieties which you have in your mind, you can put down on the paper. So it's natural. That's why we can say that is it, though it's a psychological matter of Arthur Miller or even the normal element of it, but we can see the tension behind the World War II or the life related to the Arthur Miller. Once he Arthur Miller write down in All My Sons through Chris Keller, a character. Arthur Miller said that, or the Chris said that once and for all, you must know that there's a universe of people outside and you are responsible to it. He actually wanted to realize the responsibilities and duties of the other people, that you are not only the creature of this world, but you would have to be helpful to others, because other one are also living there in spite of you. There are some characters, as we have discussed in the previous lecture, that there are some characters, but though it is very important to discuss, and though this chapter or lecture is regarding the characteristics element or the characters, important characters especially of this drama, so it's good to have such elements in front of us. First, as there are two business partners, Joe Keller and the Steve Deaver. Joe and Kat are husband and wife, while Steve Deaver is in jail. Has disappeared throughout the drama, and there is no any character of the Steve, but there are some memories or the character analyzed by the other characters, or the affected the other characters by the character of the Steve. So Larry and Chris are the two sons of Joe and Kat, or the Keller's family, while George and Anne are two characters, or the two siblings of brother and sister, belong to the Steve Devers family. Dr. Jim and Ballis and Sue Ballis are the neighbors. Bert is their son. Frank Luby and Lydia Luby are also neighbors. Now, main characters. Joe Keller is the first character, that is important, or protagonist. He is head of the family, 60 years of old, a heavy man of solid mind and build, a self made businessman. Miller tells about him that when he reads, when he speaks, when he listens, it is with the terrible concentration of the uneducated man for whom there is still wonder in many commonly known things, a man whose judgments must be dredged out of experience and a peasant like common sense. You can see that there is seems he seems just like an uneducated man, but all depends on his experience, or his life has a number of experiences. Joe seems very genuine, well natured man. His business means a great deal to him, almost as much as his family. He was very serious about his business, about his deal, or about his career, even the career related to his family. Unfortunately, he orders Steve to cover cracks in same airplane engine parts. He orders Steve to guide to take a proper approach of the engine parts, which was not participate as a responsibility should be. Joe puts the blame on Steve and escapes from the imprisonment. So he takes this as an escape and put the blame on Steve, his partner, and escape from the jail. It seems that he has entangled himself between socialism and individualism. Socialism, as he has the credibility to increase the business. He wants to improve the financial condition of his family. He is responsible for a number of uh, pilots or the army in the World War II. This is the socialism. This is the responsibilities of his by the society. And individualism, because he escaped himself only, and save individualized to put the blame down on Steve. At the end of the play, he commits suicide. Okay, this is a short introduction of the Jove Keller, but there are some further enhances of it, that he was a shady man. Shady in the sense that that is not clarity if, to his character, that he is wrong or right, he was pious or virtue, um, or even the vice. What type of character there is, a different reader can analyze different types of characters. A plain factory owner, so he was the owner of a plain factory, nearly of 60 years of age. He speaks as uneducated. He was not very much affected about the Larry's death, but because of the plane crash, though by the slender head, he was blamed of killing of 21 pilots. But though he pulled his blame on his partner Steve, that's why court ruled him not guilty and he escaped from the jail. He wants to pass his family business down to the crest. Steve Dever, another character, business partner of Joe, he was the father of Anne and George, and now from the very start of the drama he is in jail, though accusing for selling defective aircrafts to the US Army during World War II. When George visits him, George, the son of Steve, when George visits him in the jail, he tells the truth about Joe and tries to convince George about his innocence. He never appears on the stage. Another character is the George Dever. He was the Steve's son and elder brother of Anne, his sister. and he was almost of Chris' age. Miller tells about him that a paler man, now on the edge of his self restraint. He was the man of enjoyment, entertainment, and the full of life. But now he restrained himself. He was a lawyer by profession who threats to Joe while fears that he might reopen the case. After visiting his father in jail, he confronts Joe. He blames Joe that his father is not responsible for crashing the 20 pilots and planes and 21 pilots, though the Joe was. George knows that Joe has destroyed his family. He refuses Anne to marry with Chris as his father is in jail because of Chris' family or the Chris father. He was 32 years of old. He was pale white man, very uneasy person, uneasy to talk, uneasy to converse, uneasy to understand, uneasy in personality, character, and perception. He was holding a grudge against Joe because he takes Joe as a responsible of the 20 killing of the 21 pilots. He argues with Anne and Chris because he is not have interest to the marriage of Anne and Chris. He wants to make Anne away from the Chris. He was very aggressive arguer when it comes to Steve. He wanted to see Joe be in jail like his father. Another character is Kate Keller. She is in her early 50s and a wife of Joe, mother of Larry and Chris. A woman of uncontrolled inspirations and an overwhelming capacity of love. Means he is extremist in love and even about uncontrolling elements, so an overwhelming capacity. She is a typical superstitious woman. She hopes that Larry has survived and will return home, not only because she loves her son, but she knows the truth about Joe. He ordered his partner to cover the cracks in the cylinder head that eventually resulted in the death of several American fighter pilots. Kate is a sympathetic character, but the truth of her husband's guilt tortured her. Chris Keller. Chris is a younger son of Keller family. He is 32 years of old. Like his father, solidly built, a listener, a man capable of immense affection and loyalty. Miller tells such element about him. He is in love with Anne Deaver, the former girlfriend of his deceased brother Larry. He is a veteran of World War II, works for his father. He believes that his father is an innocent guy. He was an idealist. He has very strong sense of justice and responsibility. According to him, one should be guided by the noblest principles, encourages his friend Jim to leave his medical practice to pursue further study. That's why Sue believes. Sue is the wife of Jim. Okay? Sue believes that Chris is a hypocrite because Chris, and on one side, Chris wants to do the job, and second, on the second side, other side, he wants Jim to leave the job and pursue his study while Jim has a family. So the Jim's wife Sue doesn't like Chris for such guideline or advice to her husband Jim, and have a grudge towards Chris. So that's why she says that Chris is a hypocrite. He was 32 years of age, very humble, loyal, and affectionate person. He plans to marry Anne, but the mother doesn't know and doesn't like. He doesn't know about his father's past. He is very aggressive towards George. His over affection for his father blinds him to the truth. Because when George blames Joe, his father, because of the imprisonment of his father, Steve, but Chris doesn't believe on George, rather, he has a reliability, he has a trust on his father Joe. At the end, he wants to see his father return to jail, because when the tension, when the secrets, when the mysteries reveals, then he wants his father to go to jail. Anne Deaver, another character, she is daughter of Steve and younger sister of George. Anne is 26 years of old. Miller says that she is gentle, but despite herself capable of holding fast to what she knows. She is an attractive lady, quite practical as she accepts the situation as it is, because this is the symbol of reality, and she seems as a realistic person. She visits the Keller house. She has been invited by Chris. According to her, Steve is guilty, and she refuses to visit him at jail. She is perhaps blinded by her love for Chris, whom he plans to marry. In the start, Chris and Anne, both of the members, believe blindly on Joe rather than Steve and George. Okay? Larry Keller, an elder son of Joe, he fought as a pilot in the Second World War and was reported missing. It is presumed by everybody that he is dead, except his mother Kate. She believes that Larry is alive and he will come back home at one day. Larry was engaged with Anne, physically never appears on the stage, however, remains present throughout the play. But at the end, it is revealed in his letter that he couldn't bear the truth about his father's guilt and committed suicide. Now there are some four or five, because there is a son or a child too, characters of minor characters who are just their neighbors but have importance in the characterization. So Dr. Jim Bayless is a good neighbor and friend of Chris, almost 40 years of old. Miller says a very self controlled man, an easy talker, but with a wisp of sadness that clings over to his self effacing humor. So, he is such a person who is self controlled, but will always be sad because he is not interesting with such entertainment or the humor. He wants to study further. That's why Chris advised him to go for his study rather than doing job which Sue, his wife, doesn't like. Jim always talks with a scientific temperament because he was a learner person as he is a doctor. He likes to smoke cigar. He has a personal goal to make researching his life. Most of his parents are big money talkers. Sue Bellis is Jim's wife, 40 years of old. She dislikes Chris. She is though the neighbor, but she dislikes Chris. She seems more materialistic. She knows that Job is guilty and considers Chris as a hypocrite. As a friend, Chris suggests Jim to go for further study. Because of this, Sue feels hatred towards Joe. He, she is a nurse in a local hospital. She thinks that he tricked, he means Chris, tricked his way out of being guilty. She deems Chris as a phony. Phony is a person who change the course of element time by time. Bert is a cute son. He is a neighborhood boy or the son of the Jim and Sue. He plays with Job in the beginning of the play because, as pretending to be a policeman. He wishes to see jail as basement of Keller's house. Though he is a very innocent character, but through such character, Miller give the satire and comic element in the story, in the drama. That's why we can say it provides comic relief. He wishes to see jail at the basement of Keller's house. Job shows him a gun. With it, at the end, he kills himself. Okay? Because Job threats him, but at the end, Job kills himself. Frank Luby. He is also the neighbor of Keller family, who is 32 years of old but balding. As you can see, there are no any hair on his head. Miller says a pleasant, opinionated man, uncertain of himself, with a tendency towards peevishness when crossed with always waiting it pleasant and nearby. Neighborly. Genuine superstitious gay works on the lady's horoscope because though he has interest in horoscope, that's why he checked the lady's horoscope daily, and it is he who makes kids believe more stronger that Larry will come in one day. He makes the fun of Jim because Jim doesn't like this family, though he is in labor neighbor, uh, but Frank likes this family, and especially Chris. That's why he makes fun of Jim. Lydia Luby, a robust, strong, laughing girl of 27 years of old. She is a wife of Frank, and she is a former lover of George. George is the brother of Anne, and she has been the lover of George. She is the mother of three babies. She lacks the knowledge of household machinery, but she bore George three children, left George, and took the children.
This is the end, and hopefully it is understandable. Please revise if there is some confusion. Thank you so much.